gang. What's up, it's Trollbot, and welcome back to another video where I am reviewing another anime. Yeah, you were expecting the history of Kamen Rider Part 4, but I'ma hold off on it just a little. I just felt like Part 3 was a good stopping point, so I just talk about this. So what seems to be the occasion? You're probably asking. Well, I am covering the third and final season of 6 God Combination God Mars. Today, I'm covering episodes 52 to 64, a.k.a. the Earth Arc, or as I like to call it, the fate of planet Earth. Since the season's length is short, I'm going to try and make this shorter than my other two reviews. So, let's get to the production. So, all that really is to talk about is that in addition to the actual show itself, the novel 6 God Combination God Mars, The Legend of the 17-Year-Old, was written by the head screenwriter of the show, Keisuke Fujikawa, which was published just before the final episode, and it was made into an OVA 6 years later. I'll probably check that out. And also, the show starts getting slightly more faithful to the manga, but still, it's a completely different product. So let's go on to the story. At the end of Season 2, Giron finds himself cornered between Mars and Floor, only for him to be killed by a mysterious light, like he is struck by an energy blast and disintegrated on some Dragon Ball Z type stuff. After this, Floor leaves to rebuild her civilization. Sometime later, Mars and the Crusher Squad investigates something strange happening, and it turns out Emperor Zool returned. He reveals that he himself was the mysterious light that killed Giron, because Giron failed him one too many times. It is also revealed that Giron was only acting as a servant to Zool, and seeing how he failed Zool one too many times, Zool decided to take matters into his own hands once again. While fighting Mars, Zool outfits him with the Devil Rings, rings that will drain his life force every single time Mars uses his psychic powers. And so a fight begins between Mars and Zool's new forces, the Heroes. The Heroes stay relatively the same, with the absence of Floor and Gash, since Floor left to rebuild her civilization and Gash was killed. All that I can talk about is that Rui gets a bigger role this time. Rui is voiced by the late Kumiko Takizawa. Takizawa is most famous for voicing Grandis from Nadia's Secret of Blue Water, and Kate Hathaway from Vifam. She also voiced Panther Zora in New Cutie Honey. So, as we saw in Season 1, Rui reconciled with her sister Rose, and she is actually very much worried about her now. Quite a development. Speaking of Rose, she is on the hero side now. This time, as a supporter of Mars. And also there's the mysterious Rose Knight. He usually comes when Mars is in big trouble, gives some words of encouragement. He's just there, at least for most of the season. Now let's talk about the villains. This time, I decided to dub this collective of villains the Zool Clan. Obviously, we have Emperor Zool, voiced by Goro Naya. He really steps up his hating game this season. Below him this time are 6 metallic humanoids dressed in tights. Besides their eyes, they are noticeably faceless and hairless. So here they go now. We have Metal, voiced by Mitsuo Senda, Bode, voiced by Toru Ishida, Snapper, voiced by Kazue Komiya, Knacker, voiced by Naoko Koda, Kicker, voiced by Masashi Hirose, and Need, voiced by Yusaku Yara. They don't have much in terms of personality, but one thing is notable. They don't really have a leader, and Metal and Bode usually tend to act alone. However, the rest of the Zool clan tend to work in squads, such as Snapper and Knacker, and Kicker and Need. So, that's it when it comes to the villains. Now let's go on to... Z episodes, which were quite a step up from season 2. I enjoyed almost every episode. However, the worst part of season 3, which is a good science insight can actually point out a worse part, was easily the last 2 minutes of the last episode. Like, the final rating would have been easily in the high 80s if the last 2 minutes weren't so rushed. Or I can describe it as a cheaper version of Ultra 7's conclusion. Just after seeing it, I was heated. Man, the ending left me angry. My favorite episode, however, was episode 59, Noah's Rebellion. It concerns the Crusher Squad going to Central Camp in Florida in order to train under the computer Noah. But since this is Florida, Kicker and Need decide to target it and make the computer Noah turn against Central Camp and attempt to reduce the city to rubble and kill Mars. It's a very fun episode. Now let's go on to Z Mecha. This time, we're going back to the Season 1 mechs with the Battle Mecha. The designs are nothing to write home about, but they're still passable. However, one thing that gained a noticeable improvement are the fights, as these are easily the best fights in the series, hands down. The fights are more creative, and sometimes Takeru even loses the first time. And he even has trouble calling upon his individual mechs. So let's go on to animation and music. The animation stayed roughly the same from last time, but the music got a noticeable jump in quality. The number of interesting tracks even grew between seasons. And in the last episode, instead of the usual ending theme of Monument of Love, the 17-year-old legend was played. The lyrics were written by Keisuke Fujikawa, the head screenwriter, and it was composed and arranged by Kei Wakakusa, the guy who does the music for the entire series. This time, it is sung by Yuji Mitsuya, the voice actor for Marg. And overall thoughts? I personally feel that Marg's popularity was the worst thing to happen to the show, as the quality of the show, and especially this season, suffered because of it. So, I was originally going to give this an 88%, but I'm going to lower it to a nice, cool 84%. No. Actually, 85%. 85% out of 100. It was still a pretty good season, and a definite jump over season 2. So, what to do next? Let's return back on schedule. For next time, I'm doing the history of Kamen Rider, as we're going into the 1980s. So, like, subscribe, and comment down below. And in the meantime, later, fools.